Wait a sec. Pensacola has an A&W? Son of a bitch. A&W has a special place in my heart. In fact, whenever I think of like fast food or just food period from back home, I think of A&W. There was a drive-in A&W in Salmon Arm when I was a kid. They took it out and we didn't have it for years. But there was always one in Revelstoke, which we always stopped at when we were in Revelstoke. I loved everything from A&W except the onion rings. I think Dairy Queen in Canada had the best onion rings. Now, I know that there's A&Ws in the U.S., but they're not even related to the ones in Canada anymore. I mean, Canada bought themselves out of them, I think, like in the 70s, you know, and they were a separate entity. But anyways, the point is, when I think of home, one of the places to get food I think of is A&W. We can get A&W root beer here, like in bottles, but I haven't had it out of a draft like thing in 16 years. And you know, and sometimes I think I think about the foods that I miss, you know, and just or the brands that I miss that I don't get down here. Beer's a perfect example. I mean, yeah, we get all the same brands in Canada, like the U.S. brands that we get down here, but we don't. But down here, they don't get all the Canadian brands of beer, which, you know, it's not this. It doesn't work the same way back and forth. You know, you get American beers in Canada, but not many Canadian beers in the U.S. And trust me, I've looked. All we really ever get is Labatt's Blue and Molson Canadian. There's some. I went to a few specialty beer stores, and really, they're always just stuff from. They're all like from Quebec, and truthfully, I never think of beer and Quebec together. Maybe that's just, I don't know, my West Coast 90s, 80s upbringing or whatever, you know. But beyond that, I mean, there's lots of brands and things that I really miss a lot. And I try to explain it to people down here, and they don't seem to understand. Well, they can't know because they have never had it before. I mean, there's a few Canadian / sort of British candies I can find down here. Now, I can get Coffee Crisp here now at Publix, which is a rather good grocery store. It's really popular down here. Let's see. I can also get their Aero bars. Thank God, I love Aero bars. You know, and it's weird that a lot of the foods that I miss are basically candy or junk food. Try to think of some here. Actually, a list of them. You know, thank God for Google Note. Let's see. Hickory sticks. They know what those little cut up like stick potato chip things, right? You know, they get them down here, but they don't get hickory sticks, which I find odd because they got like sweet barbecue flavor, everything, but they don't have the hickory sticks. And everybody talks about hickory down here because of barbecuing and smoking and, you know, smoking meat. But no, they don't have hickory sticks here. And I loved hickory sticks. It was one of the favorite things I ever got at this little confectionery type store in Armstrong when I used to go over there and visit my cousins. What else do I miss? Hawkins Cheesies. Yes, we get Cheesies here. We get Cheetos and stuff like that. But there's something about Hawkins which is, I don't know, maybe it is just nostalgia, but I love Hawkins Cheesies. McIntosh's toffee. You don't find a lot of toffee down here except for whatever toffee's in Score bars. And, you know, I like Score. You know, I've always liked Score. But, you know, McIntosh's is just, I miss the old, I mean, I know some of these brands are probably gone now or they've changed their packaging, but I always remember the red box with the striped tartan on it. You know, that was, you know, just what I remember. Let's see, what else? Smarties. Okay. This has been the hardest one to explain to my American friends. Those little rolls in plastic with those little sugar pills in them, those are not Smarties. I don't care what they say down here, those are not Smarties. Smarties are like I hate to compare them, but yeah, they're like M&Ms, okay? They are candy-coated chocolate. And my friends always get a kick out of it because I remember the theme song. You know, when you eat your Smarties, do you eat the red ones last? You know, um, and they said, well, how can you be so nostalgic about a candy which is basically just an M&M? Because it's not just an M&M. It's Smarties. Okay, you know, I remember when they first introduced the blue color, and we were like, ooh, you know, that was great, you know, and it's just again, yes, it is nostalgia. What else do we have here? Uh, okay. Oh, Eat More. Eat More has a very special place in my heart because it makes me think of my mom. Because my mom did not eat a lot of candy bars, but the few candies which she had once in a while were split between uh, Eat More, which is sort of a toffee peanut thing, and it's the greatest chocolate candy bar. They have to be called by by Canadian law. They had to be called candy bars, not chocolate bars. So they were like it was the best candy bar. It makes me think about her a lot. She also ate another thing called glacettes, which were basically you had the choice between raisins or peanuts, and they were coated in chocolate. You know, not hard chocolate. They were, I guess, soft chocolate. Um, what else do I miss? Oh, crushed cream soda. We get crushed down here, but it's sort of a specialty soda, almost like Jones soda, you know. And really, all you almost ever see is orange and grape. We started getting this cherry flavor, which I don't remember us having back then. They might have had it at some point, but I never had it. But crushed cream soda, the red cream soda, I miss that with a passion. Um, it had a different flavor, and I forget why. Something about I forget what the red flavoring was. Um, but you know, I really miss it. Again, another nostalgia thing, I guess. Because what's the difference between any other cream soda? Well, the only cream soda I really drink down here is Faygo, or we get Dad's root beer or Dad's cream soda down here, and I never liked A&W cream soda, which we get in the bottles. Um, Old Dutch potato chips. Now, yes, there's these brands which reach national or international, like, you know, Frito-Lays and stuff, and we had them, you know, yeah, we had them when I was growing up, so we got Ruffles. So, but Old Dutch, they had the ketchup chips, which they actually sell ketchup chips down here once in a while. During the summer, they're like a specialty flavor, and a lot of people don't buy them. They're like, ew, that sounds disgusting. And I'm like, they're the best. But my favorite Old Dutch potato was the Mexican chili. I liked having a Mexican chili and then a can of A&W root beer because the root beer had no flavor for some reason after you had the Mexican chili chip. It just became this sugary numbness in your mouth, and you're like, you know, it's like your tongue went numb. Shreddies. I've tried to explain the difference between Shreddies and Wheaties, and nobody down here seems to get it. No, I mean, they're like, I guess they're like, you know, I know that they're like Wheaties, and I know that they're sort of like Chex, but they're not. They are Shreddies. Shreddies, the only cereal I like, even when it's soggy. Shreddies, which goes great in nuts and bolts, and I've had to explain nuts and bolts and how it's like Chex Mix, but how I do think it's superior. And I have all my friends saying now, well, you're remembering all these foods, but they all seem to be junk foods. Don't you have any Canadian cuisine? And I sort of have to say, is there really an American cuisine? I mean, I've tried to come up with the idea of what Canadian cuisine is, and I mean, there's always been jokes, like it's like brown beans on toast, or it's Kraft dinner and ketchup, which, you know, it is sort of true that, you know, back home I seem to remember that. Down here they'll call it mac and cheese. But we no matter what the brand is, we back home we always called it, well, get me some Kraft mac and cheese, even if it was like the Leonardo name brand one from one of those little stores in Vancouver or whatever. We always called it Kraft mac and cheese. But yeah, when it comes to Canadian cuisine, it's really not much different than American cuisine in the sense that it all depends on your heritage or the heritage of the area you came from. I mean, to me, in some ways, pierogies are a Canadian cuisine, just because there's such a large Ukrainian influence in my family, and I grew up eating a lot of them. And the fact that you can actually find them in stores back home, which it took me forever to find some in stores. There's only one brand here called like Mrs. P. So, but yeah, when it comes to Canadian cuisine, it's to me, it's not poutine. We see it on TV all the time, like on the Food Channel. Yes, the Canadian, gourmet is poutine. I'm like, it's. Don't get me wrong. I love gravy and cheese, or cheese curds on my French fries, mainly cheese. But I'm not going to call it Canadian cuisine. It is a French Canadian thing, which wasn't even really a big thing when I was living back in Canada 15 years ago. It was only starting to come out as sort of like, yeah, we'd heard of it, but it wasn't this like all encompassing. It's a Canadian cuisine, It was like it's almost like it was a country we latched onto it to give ourselves some culinary exposure to the world. And funny enough, when I first moved here, I tried ordering it in a bar in New Orleans, and the waitress almost slapped me when I ordered. I'm like, no, poutine or poutine, whatever. It's, French fries, brown gravy, cheese curds. It's not a dirty word, okay? But yeah, these are all the things. These are just not all, but these are like a good number of the comforts of Canada that I miss. And this probably won't be the only episode I ever, make about comforts that I miss from home. But yeah, they have an A&W. They have an A&W in Pensacola, and of all places on the Navy Air Force Base, or the Pensacola NAS. And I don't even think I can get on, or at least not that part of the base where it is. And I'm like, so what? Only people who are able to get onto the base can go to this A&W. And I haven't had an A&W in over a decade and a half. Thankfully, my dad, my brother, and my aunt are coming to visit us. They'll be here the day after tomorrow. My kids don't know about it yet, keeping it as a big surprise. And they've told me that they're bringing me a care package. Thank God. I don't expect there to be beer in it. So if somebody could find a way to send me like a 6-pack of Kokanee, even if that's not even a big beer anymore up in Canada, I don't care. I miss my Kokanee. I miss my LGD, Labatt's Genuine Draft, in the 30-sided can. I know for a fact they don't make it in the 30. Well, they might. I was told they don't anymore. We're talking to my friends. So, hopefully next summer I'll be coming back up to Canada. It looks good that we will. I can't wait till my kids do. But I tell you right now, the first thing I'm going to do when I get off that plane, and before we get into whatever rental car, whatever, before we drive from the airport back up to Salmon Arm, I'm stopping at an A&W and having a matzo burger with mushrooms. Yeah, I am.